Welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show, a Friday edition, an offseason edition. Jake Riepma, Natalie, Kerwin, and Bradford Banta. Guys, Natalie, I'll start with you. We haven't found the next offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions yet.
We have not, but we're diving deep into the search. The Lions are too, and supposedly they're trying to interview a big cat lookalike out of Pittsburgh. So we'll see how that goes. Bradford?
Yes, Bradford Banta here. Look, guys, if you think the Lions are panicking, relax. This is what high standards look like when you finally get used to winning.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
The Lions Squad Show starts right now. Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, Bradford Banta. What a show we have lined up on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. And hey, how about a quick shout out to today's presenting sponsor, brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. NFL divisional round this weekend. The Lions, unfortunately, as we continue to remind ourselves, the reality is they are in off-season mode. We'll talk about who this team's next offensive coordinator will be, and a huge get for the program. Shout out to Bradford Banta bringing on Jennifer Hammond of Fox 2 and the Lions Radio Network. Looking forward to chatting with her in the second segment. And as always, your participation encouraged and appreciated. So send in those comments as we get you set on a special Friday edition. Natalie Kerwin, it's a special Friday edition because you were busy yesterday. A little Detroit Pistons sideline reporting. Another win for the Pistons. And that's where we begin today's show. A little Pistons talk. We'll cross it out right away. How about that?
Yeah, we always got to squeeze it in there somewhere, right? So let's
another win, right?
Yeah, another win. They got their 29th win of the year, still top of the East. So they're rolling. Not the strongest win yesterday. It wasn't the prettiest, but they got it done against the Phoenix Suns.
Hey,
so,
you know what Bradford Banta would tell us. That's right. That's right. Bradford
I was going to say, you took the words out of my mouth.
Win.
I know Bradford Jake and I are always trying to find the little things to pick apart. And Bradford goes, listen, as long as it's a dub in that column, all right, we're moving forward.
Matter, gang. Exactly.
Yes. So, yeah, it was good all in all. They continue to roll. They got a lot of guys back yesterday. They had 4 core players out for the last week or so. So that was good to have. 3 of them were starters. So Cade Cunningham was back. Jalen Duren was back. So Tobias Harris too, and Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, you basically had the whole team back, which was nice. So yeah, you got to love it. I mean, Detroit basketball keeps rolling. If you have not watched, I'm telling you, turn on a game. I feel like a lot of people aren't as bought into it yet as they should be, but I'm putting
that's because there's no Locked On Pistons post game show recapping.
Dig.
I knew that was coming in there next, but I'll be the first to advocate for it. Absolutely, we need it.
Hey, we can go double time. We can talk about Pistons as well. So
that's right.
Let's get it rolling.
We'll start this offseason. Yeah.
Offensive coordinator search for the Lions. More development there, and I think we all kind of expected this, casting a wide net, but I'll tell you what, we start with Arthur Smith. I did not expect that. And I kind of have maybe, and Bradford, I'll kick it to you first, because you can just correct my dumb little brain as we often need to do on this program. But is there an element of, hey, the Steelers kind of torched this Lions defense. If I'm Dan Campbell, I want to know what Arthur Smith and that offense saw on our defense. Is that part of the conversation in the interview, or do you think there's a legitimate, hey, Arthur Smith could be the next offensive coordinator for the Lions?
I think you look at really to answer both questions, yes and yes. And you know what, Al Davis used to do this, the former owner of the Raiders, and he used to bring coaches in the offseason just for interview purposes. And not that he was going to hire them, but he was going to try to dig as many nuggets of knowledge he could out of that particular coach to figure out what made him tick and what made him, successful versus the Raiders. And this is becoming a more and more common occurrence that you see with these head coaching interviews, these OCDC interviews. And I tell you, it's smart on the organization side to bring these people in, even if they're not really serious about it, and ask the probing questions. And that's where the person that's getting interviewed has to realize, hey, you know what? I have a bird in hand, meaning he already has a job. Well, he may or may not, depending on who the next head coach of the Steelers is going to be. But Dan and whoever else, I'm sure Chris is involved, Spielman is involved in these interviews as well, is ask these probing questions to figure out what made them so successful. And all these interviews are going to be taped, and that way you can play them back, and they may even have some questions that Kelvin Shepard wanted to ask Arthur Smith. No, I'm being serious, and that's why they tape these. But Kelvin would give the person who's interviewing some questions to ask Arthur, some pointed questions, just to see how he would respond. And I think he's a legitimate candidate. Now, whether or not the Steelers are going to want to let him go, well, they gave him permission to interview, so there's always that possibility. But I think he's a legitimate candidate.
I think you have to do your due diligence and interview the guys that are available and out there. And I think that's what the Lions are doing. They're giving, everyone that is on the market, the Lions are giving a chance to interview with. And so, is this my number one choice? No. Is this the Lions fan base's first choice? No. Based on what I've read, people do not want this at all. To your point, Jake, there is something to be said about the fact that this was Arthur Smith's best showing of the year, was at Ford Field against the Lions. And for Dan Campbell, yeah, and for Kelvin Shepard, you want to know how they found that success against the Lions that week. But all season long, you look at their offense, they were mediocre at best in a lot of categories. So you look at his history too, he's got experience, which you like, but historically, a lot of his success has been pretty underwhelming when you look at his resume as a whole and where he's been. So just reading up on him and what he's done, it just doesn't sound like he's a lot of people's number one guy. Of course, Mike McDaniel is probably still at the top of everyone's list, but you would take joggers and vape pens over a mustache, the big mustache and big cat lookalike at this point, I think. So
yeah, no, that's the perfect segue to mix in a comment from our guy Lions Today. That's a great program on YouTube. Check it out. Micro Mike is the host of that, who says Mike McDaniel, Arthur Smith. And Micro Mike goes a step further in this comment, saying Mike McDaniel, Mike Kafka, Cheeks, and then Arthur Smith. So Micro Mike, we know exactly where you stand on that. So let's segue into the Mike McDaniel conversation, because obviously we covered it at great length on our earlier episode from this week. But in-person interview, I think that kind of confirmed an in-person interview with everybody taking selfies with him at the Detroit airport, and what that really entails to now the conversation of knowing full well, hey, he's interviewing for head coaching jobs. And my favorite comparison that I shared with both of you on the group chat of a, AI picture of Mike McDaniel in the freezing cold leading a 2-14 Cleveland Browns team, or being in a nice, warm, comfy dome, using the weapons of Jahmyr Gibbs and everybody else. I'm on Ross St. Brown. Which one do you want? Obviously, it's the Detroit Lions. So Bradford, do you think in this current carousel of coaching, with as many head coaching jobs as there are, yes, thank you. there it is.
The screen isn't, it's hard to see, but it's essentially,
yeah. And If you're listening on the audio version of today's episode, Nat just showed us a picture of the AI Mike McDaniel in Cleveland Browns coaching apparel in the freezing cold. But Bradford, do you think that is a part of the reasoning and kind of process that McDaniel will go through of weighing the options of being an offensive coordinator with an organization as established and a foundation as established as the Lions compared to having to rebuild a team and an organization from a head coaching standpoint?
There's a couple modes of thought here that go into this, and Mike is just coming off of just being the guy and, controlling everything inside and outside of the organization by being the head coach. And what has he learned from coaching or being the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? And then you also have to think about, there's a couple modes of thought here, talking about relevance of being a head coach. Do you take another job, or do you take another job and just be like, you're one of 32, talking about one of 32 in the world that are the head coach of an NFL football team? So there's a lot to be said for that. Even though you may know in the back of your mind, you're walking into a situation that isn't all that good, meaning the Cleveland Browns organization as a whole. And then there's another one that says, okay, I can go to the Detroit Lions, who, the cupboard is full as far as personnel and the amount of weapons, offensive weapons that I have to deploy out on the field of play and go strike with the offense that I know is successful and that I know that Jared Goff can run. And I know that Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs, possibly Montgomery, possibly to be discussed at a later time. Just all these offensive weapons that you can go build your name up, i.e. Ben Johnson, and then have your pick of teams a couple years down the road, possibly. No guarantees. So it boils down to the question he has to ask in the back of his mind: how relevant do I want my name to stay out there as a head coach? That's what he has to answer himself.
A lot of questions that we can continue discussing. And on the other side of this break, we get to continue discussing with Jennifer Hammond of Fox 2 and the Detroit Lions radio network. So excited for that. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on this live edition of the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Back in just a second. Hey, today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. The NFL season is in full swing. So are the playoffs, and there's nothing like being at the game, the crowd, the noise, the energy, and cheering alongside other fans. Watching it at home is great, but in the stadium hits a little bit different. Now, the frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. It's the worst. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. So pull up the Game Time app, check it out. Upcoming NFL games. I know we're down to the divisional round, but hey, no better time than right now. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets takes just minutes. One of my favorite features, you guys know this, the view from my seat before you buy, so there's no surprises. And it's a high-res photo. It's not any of those grainy renderings or anything like that. You see exactly what the view is from your seat before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code LOCKEDONNFL. That's code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but create that account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL, $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. We continue on with a live Locked On Lions squad show, and excited now to bring on the one and only Hammer, Jennifer Hammer from Fox 2 and the Detroit Lions radio network. And for anybody listening, we're excited to welcome you on. But viewing, we got we're working on the webcam right now. Hammer, can you hear us?
I hear you. But you don't see me? Do you hear me?
We hear you. We hear you loud and clear.
Right, let's see.
But hey,
I have my video on.
The beauty of technology, we're working through it. So that's the great thing about the StreamYard app. Shout out to StreamYard. Are you on a laptop, phone?
On my laptop. Don't kill me here. You want me to get on my phone?
Don't worry, Hammer.
No. What you might have to do here, let me go ahead and do this. What you might have to do is under the settings tab, we're working through it live right here. If you go to the camera part and pull down the drop down menu, gosh, I'm sounding like an IT department whiz right now. And then is there a different option that you can potentially use?
HD camera. Let's see if there's standard def.
The suspense.
Should we do a drum roll? Or, I'm just asking.
Low def. You see it flicking? You guys, this is embarrassing.
No.
I am a television professional, and I cannot make my camera work.
Hey, the technology sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this, Hammer. Let me ask you this: Is the camera blocked?
Oh, that could be it. Some secret mission kind of stuff, like when you go into and they have to block your webcam.
No, because the other day I was on a Zoom on Fox 2 and they could see me, but they couldn't hear me. Good God, man. God, man. Hang on. I'm trying it on my phone.
I was just gonna say, let's do the old cell phone, or I'm gonna really sound like IT guy here and say you could try restarting your computer. All right. Well, while we're waiting, I did the old boot, and maybe the reboot will work on the phone, and it just kind of keeps the suspense building for a little bit, That's the who was the famous line of "We'll do it live." Was that it was the O'Reilly factor, I think.
Bill O'Reilly. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. All right, the phone is working though. We got the phone. There we
go. Woo, there she is.
Yay!
Yeah.
Does this sound okay? Should I put in earbuds, whatever they're called?
No, you sound great.
No, you sound great.
Yep, you sound good. That's okay.
Happy to see you guys.
Yes. Thanks so much for hopping on. And there's been plenty of episodes where both Nat, sorry to throw you under the bus because I've done the same thing a million times, didn't connect the actual microphone to the StreamYard, and it sounds fine. See, we love technology, we hate technology, but the most important thing is we've got you live now.
It worked.
Looking good. How are you? And thanks so much for hopping on.
I'm really well, surprisingly so, going into this second weekend of NFL playoff action in January without the Lions aboard for the first time in 3 years. I will tell you, I was a little down, a little depressed after that Monday from the Chicago game. And I thought, this just doesn't feel right. We've seen them play so well during the regular season and get to the postseason for the last 2 years. Except for that loss to Washington, but felt a little down, but I'm embracing the lean into the off season and kind of finding, if I have another team to root for this weekend, which won't be the Bears.
Yeah, I don't think we can hop on the Bears train at
all. Thank you, Natalie.
I feel like the Packers used to be the team that we used to just have the bad just hatred and bad blood for, but I can't look at the Bears the same. Ben Johnson and the way he's handled himself.
It's hard. It's like your husband leaving you for a hotter, younger woman or something. It's very hard. But I will not be rooting for the Bears. I do like the Texans though. I think I have to go completely off to the AFC. But this weekend it raises an interesting point, right? For people in Detroit. Do we root for the Rams? It's kind of two former humans that scorned us, so to speak, in Matthew Stafford and Ben Johnson. Which is the lesser of two evils? Who do you root for?
No, Hammer, you're exactly right, because that's the conflict I have. I have to let go because something, no matter what, it's inevitable. Either Ben Johnson and the Bears are going to be parading around like they were last weekend, or Stafford's going to. And if I hear or see one more thing, I think we've officially phased out the horrific Detroit Rams t-shirts and everything we
Yes.
saw. But there's probably of the things in my life that make my skin crawl the most, that was very much at the top of the list. So, but I'm with you, like that. I try to block out all of the things happening in the NFC and think, all right, there's some compelling storylines in the AFC. D'Amico Ryans and
Yeah.
for Josh Allen, and having finally this opportunity where he's not either up against Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, whoever it is. So, which is also kind of interesting, because I think depending on who you ask, the Buffalo Bills, even with the playoff win, if they have so much pressure on them to get back to the AFC title and then the Super Bowl, where if you're Sean McDermott, you're like, what more can I do other than win the Super Bowl? Do you think that his job might be in question if the Bills don't reach an AFC title game?
I think so much of what's going to happen tomorrow night in that game is going to depend on the health of Josh Allen. I mean, it's no secret that he's pretty banged up right now, and they've just got to be able to move the ball, because they're going to have a really tough challenge. That's going to be a tough game for them. But I do think that I think for now that coach is safe. I just can't imagine. But who knows? I mean, what any owner is thinking at this point in time with all of the head coaches that are out there right now. I don't think we've ever seen this many talented coaches without a job and this many openings in any NFL, firing cycle in history. I mean, I don't know, Bradford, if you can remember a time like this, but it's really crazy. And I think it may actually be bad for the Lions in the long run in their search for an offensive coordinator.
It may just take a little bit longer time to find that offensive coordinator because of the people that they're interviewing, especially, because they're interviewing all these guys that are still in the playoffs. And we're talking about guys with the Rams. We're talking, with the exception of the Falcons, former head coaches, McDaniel, Smith, the list goes on. They just have to find someone that meshes with the weapons that the Detroit Lions have. And I think that Dan wants to be he wants to be a 50-50 team as far as run pass. And that's how he wants to dominate the game. He doesn't want to air it out. He doesn't want to ground and pound. He just wants to keep it nice and simple, and let's keep it 50-50.
Yeah.
So you have to find somebody with that philosophy.
Yeah, and they've got so many weapons. I was reading an article about Arthur Smith, who, obviously was the head coach with Atlanta and spent some time with the Steelers. And whereas the numbers of what the offense did in Pittsburgh don't really add up to success, and you look at that and go, 26th, 28th, that wasn't exactly an offensive juggernaut. He did not have the weapons that Detroit has. And I think that he has a lot of philosophies, leaning into the run game and going with, the play action and things that really fit Jared's style that might not be bad for Detroit. So I'm sure that he'll be getting an interview if he hasn't already.
Jen, besides Arthur Smith, is there another name that you particularly like or has made you perk up a little bit as far as guys that are in the OC search so far for the Lions?
Well, when McDaniel got cut loose in Miami, I really loved that idea. But, to the point too, you've got to get a guy that can work within the scheme that's already here with what's in place. I mean, I love his mind. I do know that if I'm not mistaken, he does not have a history or a previous relationship with Dan Campbell. I know Dan likes to lean to guys that he knows a little bit. It was very interesting as well when we heard David Blau's name kind of kicked around. I mean, certainly he's a bright mind and he's had some limited experience as I think he was a passing coordinator or a quarterback's coach with the Commanders. I don't know if that gets anybody excited, but I would love to see them go for a guy that's not going to be one and done. I feel like McDaniel or maybe an Arthur Smith, guys like that that have head coaching experience and pedigree would be more of a come in for a year and maybe move on, or a year or two and then move on. I think that's a tough thing to keep on trying to lock and load. Although, I mean, look at Philadelphia. What are they now on their fifth OC in the last 4, 5, 6 years, and they've won a Super Bowl in between and been to another one. I mean, so you never know. I mean, different recipes work in different organizations, but I would like to see them get somebody who's kind of a young, untapped, bright mind that they can groom and grow with. And I know that a lot of people don't like that idea because they think the Super Bowl window is closing, but I don't know. I would rather have somebody that's going to stick and stay with as many young pieces as this team has.
Hammer, that's such a great point, because I've just gone back and forth and trying to make sense of it myself of, okay, because there's certainly an argument to make where get the brightest mind, and there's a reason why maybe the brightest and most qualified mind might be a one and done, because some other organization is going to want to poach him to lead their organization. But the Super Bowl window, which obviously is we talk about all the time on this program, and Bradford likes to keep us the parameters and guardrails up as the former coach, the former player, and Nat and I are over here like, no, we're the fans. We want a Super Bowl right now, anything it takes. In the same way with maybe some changes on the roster and some offseason acquisitions as it relates to boosting up the offensive line or the defensive line. So kind of transitioning into what maybe some changes on the field you would love to see this Lions team make. Of course, the famous soundbite that we go back to all the time is Brad Holmes saying, no, we're good. And then, of course, Brad Holmes has earned the trust of this fan base and everything that he has done to build the culture and establish the foundation. But do you think this could potentially be an offseason where we see some more meaningful changes? And I know Martha Ford came out with the letter, or I'm sorry, Sheila Ford, not Martha Ford, but the letter to the organization that maybe there aren't major changes coming, but perhaps some potential additions that could help this team.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there with all that you just asked me. I'm going to start with the whole notion about Brad having all of this goodwill. I think that Brad has done a really good job. He has built a tremendous team, and there is a lot of talent on this roster. They have a kind of a tenuous job going forward here because they have to make sure that they maximize it. And I understand what Bradford says from the coach speak perspective is that the Super Bowl window doesn't really exist. Actually, it's funny. Greg Campy's a basketball coach, but he called into our sports office show earlier this week and gave us kind of a little setup about football that there's no notion of win now. Like, teams don't go about it that way. Coaches, players don't think that way. They think about every day winning the day, right? With preparation and process and everything they do to get better and to improve their team and to go forward. So with that said, I do believe that the Lions are just trying to work as hard as they can to make the improvements where they need them. And if hands down, that starts along the offensive line. And I think finding out as well what guys you can get back within a reasonable degree of what they were or what they were promised to be. And when I say that, I say guys like Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. I mean, his injury is going to take him into next season. What's the situation with Kirby? So not only do they have to build that offensive line, but they've got a lot of guys that went out with significant injuries, and those guys were really cornerstones of the franchise. So they've got a lot of pieces that they're going to need to fill in during this offseason. And I think for Holmes, the job becomes figure out what you've got and what you can go forward with. As far as Sheila's letter about change, I guess I didn't see that, and I don't know what changes she's referring to. I don't know, I mean, that anybody's job is on the line significantly. I mean, Dan Campbell, everyone's going to continue to run through a brick wall for that guy. And Brad Holmes certainly has built up enough, sweat and equity that I don't think his job is on the line at any point in time. Maybe the way they do things and how they go about building toward the off season or toward the season and towards the playoffs, and in maybe making some more money decisions to trade for guys, free agency. that could be a little bit of the message. But I do think that that's part of the equation as well, with getting your own guys kind of, sussed out and figure out who can come back and truly help you next year to the degree that they did a year ago.
Jen, covering this team for so many years and being around it and getting to know the organization inside and out, big picture question, but from your vantage point this season, obviously, I think a lot of Lions fans feel like, of course, it was disappointing because we're not watching them here in the postseason. But from an inside perspective, what was, the best part of it for you this season, covering this team, and maybe the most disappointing, just from the inside, what you can share with us?
Oh, the best part of this season, I think, was really just that moment in time. And it's a tiny little snapshot. But I think that first game when Dan Campbell took over the play calling and he had the glasses on and they put up 44 or whatever it was on the Commanders. I mean, I think everybody went bananas thinking, oh my God, we might be onto something here, right? Our head coach can be a play caller. So that was a fun moment. And quickly, it kind of started to reveal itself that he's not as effective as a head coach when he's the play caller and vice versa. So I do think that that was a cool experiment, but something that I think they learned from. So that's a good thing. And I think it's also important too that they learned from the John Morton experiment that it wasn't something that could sustain itself. They didn't waste any time making hard decisions, not knowing where that would land the season. And I think that's always the most important thing in an organization, is that when things don't go well, you have to cut your losses, I guess, for lack of a better term, sooner than later. And I think it was important to see them do that this year with what went on with John Morton. I think one of the biggest disappointments, if I had to choose one and lean on one, would be the whole Frank Ragnow situation. And Bradford may have better intel on that. But I know that Brad Holmes said in his end of the season press conference that they were looking. He said, just because you didn't hear it reported doesn't mean we weren't looking. We weren't trying to turn over some stones and find a guy who could come in and help us. But I think what they learned is that they've got to be proactive and they've got to have backups ready and they've got to have the depth situation locked down, because not only injuries, but retirement and things that are unforeseen. And now, once again, with Taylor Decker, I really firmly believe that he will retire. That's just my gut. He hasn't told me. He would not tell me anything off the record. He said, honestly, I really don't know. I've got to get away. I've got to get my body right. I've got to figure out where I am. But I think that they've learned some valuable lessons this year. That my favorite quote ever, and I say it time and again, is Nelson Mandela: I never lose, I win, or I learn. And let me tell you something. They learned this year. They learned a lot. And I do think that in the long run, that will help them get to where they need to go. I don't believe in the Super Bowl window being closed. I just think they need to, wedge a stick in there to keep it up a little bit wider and longer.
But you don't believe in the Super Bowl window.
But I don't believe in the Super Bowl window.
But yet you put a piece of wood in there to keep
I'm
the
putting
window
a piece
open.
And you visualized it, didn't you? Did you see me putting I grew up in an old house.
Is it a swing window or is it open and
Nope,
closed?
it goes
Which
up
one?
like this.
Okay, all right.
It's really hard to get that stick in.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I just had to ask the question. I wasn't sure, Hammer. So
Grew up in an old house.
Jen, can you tell us about, I'm trying to remember, it was in the press box, the boot that you had to drink out of. Can you give us an explanation
Actually,
of it?
I have it here now, and if you'd like me to drink bourbon out of my boot, I would. So I made a so I don't know if you guys listen to 97 Won the Ticket ever. Gator and Karsh do this show, and they have this thing called the Shoot the Boot Guarantee. It's like a lock. So it was after they lost to the Rams, and I believe the week after was Steelers, right? Did it go Rams Steelers this season?
Yeah.
And I said to Stoney in our post-game show on the radio, I said, there's no way they're losing to the Steelers. I expected and believed they would probably lose to the Rams. No way they lose to the Steelers next week. Well, we all saw what happened in that game, and they shouldn't have lost that game. But I said, I'll make it a shoot the boot guarantee. So I poured a little Angel's Envy Caribbean rye in that boot, and I had to drink it on the air, and I held up my end of the bet. I lost my bet. But there's a lot of fun stuff that goes on along the way during the season. And, it's just all part of, I guess, having fun on the radio.
Yeah, that's what I was going to pick your brain about, Hammer, because one, flawless execution. Watch the
Thank
video.
you.
Yeah, that's what
And it didn't taste bad at all. It did not. It actually tasted pretty good. It was surprisingly delicious out of my boot, and I wore the boot home that night.
It got flavored. It got flavored.
Yeah. Next time you see Hammer, she's just having some bourbon out of a boot. You'll know why. It enhances the flavor. But
it does.
yeah, I mean, I wanted to just shout you out on the post game radio show. Working with Stoney, you guys do a tremendous job. I'm sure there's a million stories that you could tell just knowing how Stoney is and the whole dynamics of what goes on in a Lions post game show. But is there any that come to mind as far as just games that were memorable or some of your favorite post-game radio show moments?
Well, actually, I have a favorite traveling with the team moment that I'm going to share right now, and Bradford Banta knows exactly what this is.
Yes, I do.
Many years ago, because Fox 2 is the local affiliate of the Detroit Lions, we carry the pregame shows and we do the pregame we carry the preseason games on our air, and we do pregame shows all season long. And my photographer, Jeff Holloway, and I used to fly on the team plane along with Dan Miller, who's also an employee of the Lions because he does the radio call with Lomas and TJ. And there was a long snapper. His name was Bradford Banta. And we would be sitting on the plane and we'd be watching the players all we'd have to stay put in our seats in the back of the plane while the players all got off first. So the players would unload, and then the civilians that were flying with the team, the traveling party, would get to disembark or deplane, whatever it is. So here comes Bradford Banta rambling down the aisle, and how tall are you, Bradford? 6'7"?
6'5".
6'5". Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the monitors was hanging down just a little bit, and I think that Jeff or I turned to Bradford and were like, "Hey, Banta, whatever," and we said something to him, and he turned to look at us, and he ran right into the overhead projector hanging from the ceiling. I mean, he clocked it, right? You hit it hard.
No.
I'm still here standing. I remember everybody's name. I remember the incident. So I came out good, Hammer. I appreciate it. I didn't have a guardian. Yeah, I didn't have a guardian cap on or anything like that. So
no, you did not have a guardian cap on.
Yeah, we're just built different. So
I got to tell you something. The long snappers are built different because of all of the players that have come through this organization. I've covered the team now for 31 years. 94 was my first season covering the Lions. I don't even think Natalie was born then. Were you?
I was not.
I love this.
Just so you know, Hammer, we have a rule here. We can't reference anything pre-2000 on this
Show.
I'm
going to. I have to. Because, what was your first year?
90s babies. We're just not.
What was your first year, Bradford?
94.
Oh, 94. Okay.
Yeah.
So the long snappers have always been some of my favorite people. They talk about kickers being quirky, but between Banta, I mean, it's Banta was there forever. And then Muehlbach was forever. Did Muehlbach replace you?
Yes, he did.
And then I don't know who replaced Muehlbach. And then it was Hogan Hatton now. He is a great dude. He is so funny and just so quirky. I've got to say, and even now to this day, Mule will still come up to me and give me a hug and be like, "Hammer, how are you, Hammer?" It's just I love the long snappers. There's something about their way. I think when you see half of your life between your legs when you're upside down, you have to have a different perspective and a sense of humor.
Well, the way I look at it is that you kind of you wash everything through your brain because you put your head down, all that blood rushes through your head. So you get a new to get an oxygenation of blood or a new energy of blood rushing through your head. So it keeps you young. It keeps you energetic. It keeps you thinking, it keeps you alive.
Yeah, I will. And I'll tell you, I've almost been taken out on the sideline too by the long snappers practicing. I mean, the pace and speed at which they can snap a ball, it's incredible. You don't respect it until you see it up close. It's something. It's not just a half-ass profession.
I'll tell you one story. So I was playing in Indianapolis. Went and did a radio interview at one of the local radio stations. And they're like, "We want you to snap us a ball live on air." And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Yeah, let's go out. We got mobile microphones. We'll go out in the hallway." And they had one of the female hosts was like, "I'm going to do it. I'm like, I really did not feel good doing it. Whether it's male, female, didn't matter.
Couldn't you take a little mustard off it?
I'm getting to that. So
Bradford
the
only knows
reason, no. The reason I couldn't, because we went out in the hallway, and the hallway was probably, let's just say, 4 feet wide.
Narrow.
And on the side, probably at about eye level, they had these they had the lamps that lit the hallway. So I didn't want to take mustard off the ball. I couldn't, because I didn't want to hit one of the lamps. And that would be a forever story. So they're sitting there, and they have the microphone right next to the gal who's about to catch the ball, and she's about 15 yards away. And I'm like, so I told her, I was like, I'm going to shoot it back to you. And she's like, okay, I'm ready. And then as soon as I snap it, all of a sudden, live on air, you hear, and we're podcast, right, Jake? So we're good.
Yeah.
Live on air, you hear, oh shit.
Did she get it in the nose?
No. She was able to knock the ball down, and truth be told, everything turned out fine. And I was just like, I'm like, I told y'all.
Yeah. What is the speed like? What have they ever done, like miles per hour? What's the speed that a ball? It's got to be 40 miles an hour at least.
You hit the nail right on the head. It was funny. William Wagner he's snapping for the Bengals now. He snapped for me at Michigan. He's an engineer, mechanical engineer, and one of his papers was the mechanics of snapping the ball, and that's what he did. And he calculated the average speed of the snap, and that's what it was. It was between 38 and 40 miles an hour.
It is a profession not to be disrespected, because it's precision, it's speed, it's timing, and I admire it. So Bradford and Mule and Hogan are all in my Lions Hall of Fame. So those are some of my good memories.
Yesterday. So I go to the store yesterday, and I'm checking out, and this guy asked me for my name and phone number and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, Bradford Banta. Gave him my phone number, and he looked at me, and he's like, I know that name. He goes, it's like a football player or something like that. And I was like, well, if you truly know my name, it's probably not a good thing if you knew my name. And he kind of looked at me, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll see you later. And I was like, okay, nice, have a good day.
Yeah, I remember Mule always used to say that. There was I think it was either a PAT or a field goal they missed in Minneapolis years ago. And the snap, hold, kick function was not executed. And I think Mule was the one that had a little bit of an issue. So we were talking to him, and he's like, damn it, Hammer, why do you have to talk to me? Like, when you're talking to me, it's never good. But I did do a story on snap, hold, kick once of what an important function and role they all play. And if you don't know their name, that is the important thing about the snapper. So.
For sure. Hammer, this has been awesome. We want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for
having me, guys.
Yeah, we got to do it again.
I will come back anytime, and I am looking forward to watching football this weekend. I'm glad we're all rooting for the Rams. They are not the Detroit Rams. They are just the Rams.
Yep.
And I look forward to actually, I have my Christmas tree up still. I don't know if you can see it back here. I put a little question poll on Instagram and said, when should I take my tree down? When the Rams lose, when the Bears lose, or when the Seahawks lose? And everybody said when the Bears lose. So I hope they lose so I can take down my tree on Sunday or Monday.
Yes.
For that.
I love it. We can all get on board with that. But all right, Hammer, have a great rest of your day. So
great to see you guys.
Yeah,
thank you, Hammer.
Yeah.
There she goes, Rachel Hammer and Jennifer Hammer hopping on the show with us. We appreciate that. And great guests get by you, Bradford Banta.
Thanks, Jake. I try. So, I'm not, you got to bring some good people on here. I mean, I got to keep up with the Joneses, with the people that y'all bring on. So, I mean, I try.
Hey, we are
a story about you. That's always the best.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know where she was going to go direction wise.
I knew exactly where she was going with it, because whenever I talked to her the other day, she's like, I'm going to bring up that story on the plane. I'm like, I know. So.
Gosh. So I didn't realize she has been covering the team for that long. It's incredible. What did she say? 31 years since 90. What did she say? Since 94.
Was it 94? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's the fun part about it, whenever I was playing and coaching, we lived up in the Birmingham area, and she's up in that part of Oakland County. And Amy, my wife, used to work at Fox 2. And they became
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, she used to have the it was the graveyard shift of stuff. So and yeah, she used to produce over there in the
the
early 2000s.
In the art industry.
Yeah, she was. So she did it in Indianapolis, and then she did it here in Detroit.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it was
about
good.
that.
The more you know.
Learning all about our co-host.
Shout out Amy. Let's go.
So, quick break, and then we got 2 more segments coming up. So we'll have 2 quick segments because we're just having fun on a live Locked On Lions squad show.
Perfect.
This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by the ultimate QB football legend. Hey guys, the draft picks positions are set, and so many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Ever wish to become a pro quarterback, getting drafted first overall by the Detroit Lions? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called the Ultimate Quarterback Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats as a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. That is the number 1 QB career mode on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train, upgrade yourself, and build chemistry and evolve your teammates. Give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a quarterback career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. The Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game on the go. Just head over to ultimatequarterback.com. So that's ultimateqb.com. That's ultimateqb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. That's all caps, LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, in the game store to get a free boost to start your career. Ultimate QB football legend, QB1. It's your legacy. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is also brought to you by Home Chef. How about that? As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that are actually delicious. They taste great, and they're rated number 1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule, 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, and even quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple, but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Hey, I know that guy. So for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Wow, free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. Okay, there you go. So homechef.com/lockedon, 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life.
God, dog, man. Talk about a commercial.
You had me at free dessert for life.
That's right.
I'm so checked out now. I am just, that's usually,
might need to end the show now.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. But
no, Let's go.
Let's keep it rolling. Hey, like I said, Bradford, great get by you. I love the stories. And, I think we just, in the off season, I know we've been saying it, but we just devote some time for tales of Bradford Banta from playing in the league. And maybe it's headbutting the overhead projector on a plane or wherever you were.
I did that the other day, by the way, on a plane.
Did you really? Oh
And
my
I'm
God!
sure
I'd be
I stood up
I would be crawling off that plane.
I stood up
if
too
you
fast.
headbutted it. Yeah,
Dang, I stood up too fast right here, and it hurt for days.
yeah.
And everybody heard it. They were like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm seeing stars." It was when we were getting off the plane, and I don't know. I was too anxious to get up fast. I guess I'm one of those people that like to get off the plane quickly. But I sit in the back too, and I have to wait for everyone else to get off, right? But I don't know what happened. Couldn't tell you.
Was this the private plane that you were waiting to get off of?
Yes, it was. Not gonna lie.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Bradford, she wasn't in a hurry to get to her connecting flight, because when you fly private, it's always direct.
Yeah, because I mean they wait until the last person gets off, and then the police officers have to go over there and get in their vehicles so they can crank up the sirens and wait for everybody to get on the bus. And Nat, hey, if you can do it, do it. More power to you. So believe me,
you did it back in your days.
Hey, look,
fight fire with fire, Nat.
No, I'm saying more power to you. There is no shame in traveling like the way you travel. So it gets you to places faster. You run red lights with no repercussions. The only problem that I have, and we'll have to get into this at some other point in time, is I was on the bus, or I was in the police escort whenever I was with the then Redskins. We were going to play the Vikings at the Gopher Field because they were redoing the Metrodome. And I was in the escort that actually almost rolled down an embankment because of an action by one of the police escorts. Yeah, it was totally nuts. We'll get into that story. Keep that in the back of your head and bring it up whenever we do have more time, and I can tell that story.
That's a tease for Banta. What does our guy keep calling it here? Bradford Banter.
There we go. I love it.
That's Nat's notes and Bradford Banter. I love that.
That's great. Real quick, one thing I did want to bring up is the Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum projected to sign a new deal. Would you want the Lions to go after a huge piece on the offensive line? And obviously it would come with a pretty penny, which would take some salary cap massaging and maneuvering, but it's a big name that's out there that has been really, really effective for the Ravens. Bradford, I'll kick it to you first.
Well, plain and simple. Can you do it? Yes. Get it done. Final. Figure out a way. That Linderbaum is a highly productive player at the center position that has been a lack of a better term, the bane of our existence this past season. Talking about just that inside three, it would help to stabilize the offensive line. Now, in lieu of Decker possibly retiring, you would have to build on the left tackle position. But to answer that, move Penei Sewell possibly over to the left tackle. Then who's going to take the right tackle position? We have to figure that out. But if you can get a player of that caliber, and if the Ravens are silly enough to let him walk out of the building and you're able to get a deal, make it happen. So good players are good players and bad players are bad players. But if you can get good players, you can't get enough of them. And that's how you build the depth in your team, on your team.
What do the Lions need this offseason? What's the biggest thing to address? It's the offensive line. So I'm right there with you. Go get them if you can. I mean, hey, we were talking in free agency period this season and even just before the season, Lions, we've wanted them to get some splashy names, even guys to go across from Aiden Hutchinson at the defensive end spot. So if they didn't do it then, go get your splashy name now, right? So I'm for it.
That's a perfect 3 for 3 sweep because I am as well. We got one more segment right here on a live Locked On Lions Squad Show. It'll be a short one. Don't go anywhere. It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. And no, not the wild card round is here. The divisional round. Let's update the copy once in a while, huh? FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the best bets you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you have to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or even coaching. The boost gives you more juice on the bets you already feel the best about instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels a little bit bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. So make your picks, then apply your profit boost, and go even bigger while the playoffs are still rolling. Visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. Final segment of the program, and it's a good thing it's the shortest segment because this is what we need the least amount of time for. You guys watched the Pat McAfee show before? You're familiar?
Yeah.
I love Pat.
I watch it a lot. I really like him. I love him.
It's hilarious. I love it. I love the spin on sports. Sometimes there's some controversial takes, but it's very interesting. It's dynamic. He's charismatic. The one producer, Foxy, Lions fan, love it. Evan Fox maybe we'll get him on the show. You probably know him. Like
I don't, but I'd love that.
That'd be fun.
We could try and have him on for a whole episode. I feel like well, maybe not. I don't know. But
I think we're on the exact same time as the Pat McAfee show. So could be tough, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, right. We're workshopping here. But one of the guests they frequently have on, who's tremendous at his job, is TV analyst Dan Orlovsky, who had the stones to say he wants to be the next offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And I just want to put this to bed. While Dano is tremendous on TV, he's not a coach. He's not an offensive coordinator. I really am praying that the Lions don't even as much pick up the phone. And I know I've said this time and time again, but I just the hair on the back of my neck stands up when non-coaches assume that because they know football, they can just step in and be a coach. So it's a no for me. It's not even something to entertain. Bradford Banta, I'm hoping and praying and assuming you're on the same page as me.
Do you see anything in the news that has Dan Orlovsky flying into DTW to, let's say, come and visit his cousin or a close friend?
Yeah, no, and that's why this is the shortest segment. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it.
That answers your question right there.
I mean, I don't think the Lions are trying to be in experiment mode right now, and he's never been a coach, so he'd be your last choice. He loves the Lions, right? He would love to, he has the passion. He would love to be here, obviously. He's got that. He's always had the Lions' backs, no matter what, through the good and bad times. He's part of the 0-16 team. That being said, no.
He was a contributor to the 0-16 team.
Yes. Yes.
Oh boy.
But again, we will not harp on this and
we don't need to take any shots at old Dano, but I just thought it was funny that yes, he could exclaim that he wants the job, but you have to be wanted too. So I do think too that it's worth noting that there were, I don't want to call I don't want to put, what's the term, oxygen on the fire that will make it go. Bradford,
fan the flames. Fan the flames.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Fan the
don't want
Flames.
to add lighter fluid because the people that are on board with this just want that. They just want the attention of being like, yeah, Dano would be a great offensive coordinator. But there were some people I was surprised online to see like, oh, this could work. I think this is a good idea, which again, not going to name names, but they're utterly ridiculous to think that.
I
No
don't
comment.
know. Zero
No comment.
experience. I
So-
mean, he's great at his job right now as an analyst. I enjoy
Yeah, stay in the studio, keep wearing the makeup, and go from there.
Right. Continue to be a Lions lover at ESPN and doing what you do, and I just stay where I just like where he's at. You know?
Yeah, per usual, the three of us are on the same page, both with Lindenbaum and with Dan Orlovsky staying in the TV studio. So we'll wrap up today's show. Our big thanks to Jennifer Hammer for hopping on the show. Thanks to Bradford Banta for securing an A1 guest. We'll keep the guests rolling in this offseason. Big weekend plans. Bradford Banta, final thoughts here on this Friday episode.
Golly, no, it's going to be a weekend full of football that spills over into Monday. I'm going to be curious to see
that natty.
What happens with the national championship game. You know, I think it's going to be an entertaining game one way or the other. Is it going to end up being one-sided? Who knows? We'll see. I do know that Indiana, has the oldest roster in NCAA history, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have 45 players between the ages 21 and 25, whereas the NFL has, I think, 140 players out of 2,000 that are between the ages of 21 and 22. I think I read that stat the other day. But no, Signetti has that team playing at a high level, and I'm curious to see how they're going to perform versus a very athletic, unrelenting Miami defense.
Yeah, my weekend will be full of football too. Little Pistons basketball sprinkled in there tomorrow.
Detroit basketball.
Indiana Pacers in town. So best team in the East against the worst team in the East record-wise. I'm not stating my opinion. It's the fact.
Yes, facts. But that's why they don't play the games on paper. Got to go out and execute.
Exactly. But yeah, it's going to be a sports-filled weekend, but I wouldn't have it any other way. That's usually how my weekends go, regardless.
I love it. I'm hopping over. This is my shameless plug to Sirius Satellite Radio in 15 minutes. So channel 146, if you've got the Sirius Satellite Radio app, or if you're driving somewhere, I'm going to talk some more sports because I don't really have much else going right now. Just run my mouth about sports. But for Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin, my name is Jake Riepma. Thanks for listening and watching on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Lockdown Podcast Network. Today's show will be available in the audio-only form. That's a promise. And we will talk to you back to our normal time, right? Tuesdays and Thursdays next week.
You got it.
Yep.
All right. It's a wrap. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. Great show, gang. Great show.
Loved it. It was good.
Love it.